Welcome to welcome to another edition of the Hot Seat. This is episode number 6. We got an action-packed show. We got my dude Brandon with me. Paulo's not with us this week. He had to take care of some stuff, so we hope that he'll be with us next week. So, for anyone that doesn't know you, Brandon, tell them a little bit about you and also what you got going on, and also your social media.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So hey guys, I'm Brandon. I'm a student currently at UConn and big fan of the NFL and all football and same with basketball and the NBA. Just like Cam here, I am a writer at Real Sport. Real Sport 101, you guys should check us out. And you can find me on Facebook at my name, Brandon says in the BRANDIMA. And you can find me on Instagram at BZEZ dot two.
Okay, so the very first topic we're going to talk about this week is going to be UFC 202. So I don't know if you guys saw the Diaz McGregor fight. It was absolutely incredible. Was probably my favorite fight to watch this past week. And they definitely should have another fight. I want your opinion, Brandon, on do you think that they should have another fight since there's already been two successful fights where it went split? First, Nate Diaz won, and the second time, Conor McGregor won.
So I personally didn't get to catch the fight, but right after it happened, I saw every storyline and every headline for it. It was all over social media. And I heard it was a great fight. I believe it went 5 rounds and it got ended by a decision. I think there obviously should be a third fight. Like you said, if you're going to have a winner in each match, then, both are probably thinking, well, I won one, and then the other one's, well, I won one. So it's maybe one more to be the deciding factor, like to be kind of like a little championship between them in a sense, theoretically. And I mean, they got a lot of money from this past fight. I know McGregor got the biggest purse in in UFC history. He got the first $1 million purse. So I mean, obviously it was successful. So I don't believe that the fighters would be opposed to doing it again if it made that much money. And I think it should happen again.
Yeah, I think the what they should definitely do is like you said, they should definitely have another fight because there's just too much money to be made, and Conor McGregor is their biggest earner in UFC. And if he would have lost this fight, I think it probably would have completely ruined him. And I actually watched the fight live, and I was actually surprised that McGregor actually won the fight because I think in the third round, I thought Diaz was gonna knock him out because McGregor just didn't look like he was gonna stand all Diaz punches that he kept throwing at him. He just looked out of gas, and I think the fourth round, late fourth round, McGregor kind of got that second wind, and that the fifth round he kind of did some decent moves. The only thing that Diaz did really is at near the end of the fifth round he made a couple good moves and nearly knocked him down. I thought it was going to be
Uh-huh.
over. He tried to do a bunch of takedowns, but it just didn't work. So I think that we should definitely see a third fight. Both fighters be more prepared. Diaz, he usually does a lot of takedowns with his, you know, but he just couldn't do that stuff in this fight. So I definitely think they should have another fight. So we're gonna move on to what I wanted to talk about at the beginning, but we had UFC 202, so I wanted to mention that before that. And this is concerning Josh Brown. As you guys know, I'm a big Giants fan. You see this big Giants poster right behind me. But Josh Brown, like I said last week, got suspended for one game for con- uh, for stuff detrimental to the team. But now stuff is surfacing that is because of a domestic violence issue with his ex-wife, Molly Brown. And I'm a no nonsense guy, so I don't like when I hear stuff like this because it shouldn't be allowed. Ray Rice got punished for this. Greg Hardy got punished for this. Johnny Manziel got punished for this. But to suspend someone for just one game for this is ridiculous because he's had 20 different instances with doing this, according to Molly Brown, when she told the police. So I want your take on: do you think that Josh Brown should be suspended for more than one game? And if so, how many games?
All right, so I usually have a big problem with these domestic violence issues because, one, it's never an appealing thing to hear. It's pretty nasty. I absolutely despise it, and it's ugly to hear that she had come out and said that there's been 22 other accounts, and it's just coming out now. So that's kind of scary in a sense because why is she just coming out now after 22? You know, a few times people are kind of scared to come out because they're scared of the person, but after a certain number, you know, there should be a line drawn after the first time, but if it's happening 22 times, there's a serious issue there. And I'm wondering, was she so scared that if she said something, you know, he'd keep doing it, and maybe she had attempted to in the past, but he made sure she couldn't, and the number got that high. And also maybe this is, what is it? This is her boyfriend or this is her
Uh,
husband?
this ex-husband.
Ex-husband. So maybe she was with him for a while, so maybe this is her only source of income. So maybe if she says anything, she'll be scared that the guy could lose his job. But regardless of all that, it should not be tolerated. And I always hate what the NFL ends up doing with the games with the suspensions. Not that they shouldn't have them; they most definitely should. My problem was how many games or the lack thereof. Greg Hardy, about what was it, last year or the year before, was only suspended 4 games for his. Um, Initially was suspended like 1 or 2 games, and the only reason he's not playing is because the Ravens actually took a stand on the situation and released him. But for a guy to be caught in some kind of act like this and only be suspended for a game, that's too much. I mean, I think of domestic violence almost as worse of a violation towards the NFL than some of the PEDs that the players would be taking, because it's not right to be taking performance enhancing drugs that are going to make you a better player, but something like domestic violence issue and you're a player and that's your image and that's what you're putting out, I think that tops that by a landslide. And I think it's just kind of ugly how only a game this guy had to serve. I think at least half the season, if not more. Um, I, I don't even know.
Yeah, I just think that with the with the stuff that's been going on with domestic violence, it's been a huge problem with the league, and the NBA don't have that problem. The NFL is one of the only major sports that this is a recurring issue, and I feel like, especially as a kicker, I mean, a kicker is a dime a dozen. I mean, that alone should warrant at least a 2 game suspension, but I would give him a 6 game suspension just because he's not Eli Manning. He's not Odell Beckham. He's not any important position player. I mean, he's not even JPP. So he's replaceable. I mean, you can go ahead and sign another kicker. While you can't always get a good quarterback, a good receiver, a good defensive lineman that can do what you need for your team, because you see the Giants have had trouble with their defense for years, so they can't afford to lose anybody like that. And the offense, I mean, you just don't really get those type of players that often. So there's no reason at all why this should be tolerated, and the owner should be punished for this. The players should be punished. Everybody, Roger Goodell should definitely put a hammer down on this because it's just completely unacceptable, completely. And I just don't know why it's tolerated. And you got players like Ray Rice that he still is with his wife, and apparently they're cool with it. And he did the same type of thing, and he's out of the league. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it's just one of those things, and we're going to get to my next point in a second, because if he was black, would he still get the same punishment? Because you know that most black athletes if they do something like this, they get one chance, and after that, that's it. They don't get the multiple chances that. And we're going to get to my point about this in a second, and that's we're going to talk about the Ryan Lochte situation. That's why I wanted to mention this, because I don't know if you heard, but Billy Bush was defending Ryan Lochte when he lied, completely lied. Remember last week we were talking about how that that he kept changing the story and stuff, and I thought that he was lying, and then you were saying that maybe not, and now it's surfacing that everything he said about a gun being pulled up on him, and that he said whatever is all false. So I want your opinion on that whole situation.
Why is that an Olympic athlete, any athlete, such as himself, finding himself in a position like this? I don't know. I mean, I know that he was at the gas station. I don't know if it was founded or not, but I know he was with a few of his other buddies from the swimming team, and he may have been intoxicated, maybe, which may have led to some of his false accusations. I know they did the gas station a little bit. I knew they broke a sign and it cost them about $400. It was like a glass sign and it was about $400 or something like that. But why are you even in a situation like this? You just won multiple medals. Even if it was Phelps getting them, I don't know. Is it maybe like a reach at an attempt to kind of get publicity in some sense? Because even though as great of an athlete as you are and you do get recognized for that, it's almost as if you're kind of put on the back burner a lot of the times. Because when you're swimming, you're coming and you're beating all the other guys. The problem is there's one guy coming in faster usually, and it's his teammate Michael Phelps. And I know it's their teammates, and they say, oh, well, if he wins and I win, we're both doing good for ourselves. But we've been hearing a lot of great storylines recently, about Phelps and how great of an Olympian he's become and continue to be. And not that Lochte isn't, but almost is if he's, searching for a storyline or something like that. And I don't understand why you find yourself in this kind of predicament where you create such a lie. And then each time it's like, well, I got to change the story here. I got to change the story here. Like, what is going on with that? You're not only you an Olympic athlete that has your own image, you're a role model for a lot of children, for a lot of kids that aspire to do the things you do in the pool, and that's the kind of role model, that's the kind of example you want to set, for everybody that appreciates you and looks up to you. So it's a really bad look for Lochte, and it's every time you think of him now, I think you'll always think of this situation over any of his accomplishments that he may, come to in the Olympics in future years. Because, a few years back we heard about Phelps and he was smoking and he was partying and everybody's like, oh, well, this is what he's doing. Like he's supposed to be a swimmer. Why is he doing this to his body? And now you don't hear any of those things. Well, you hear them, but not as much due to the fact that, he's become such a decorated Olympian. But I think this will probably always plague Lochte's image, because this will be the first thing you think of every time you hear his name.
Yeah, I just think it's worse because with Phelps, he didn't really do anything that was like really bad. Like, he smoked some weed, but
no, right.
But most states nowadays it's not even illegal anymore. So with this, he's vandalizing, probably breaking things in another country that he's not a part of, doesn't know anything about, and then he's lying on top of that. So he's really breaking the law. You can't be saying that this country is doing all this and they're putting a gun in your head. They're doing all this different stuff that they're not doing, because he could have stayed in the jail cell for a minute if he wasn't an Olympic athlete. Like if he was just a regular guy like you or me, we'll still probably be in Rio right now. And he lost a whole bunch of money off that deal too. When Phelps did that,
he lost all 4 of his endorsement deals that I believe a report had came out the other day. And on the day that he lost all 4, that singular day, he lost about $1 million in endorsement deals. You should know the kind of stakes that you're dealing with, and what you have to lose, what you're risking, putting yourself in that kind of position. So it's idiotic and childish on his end.
Yeah, most definitely. It's just, and he may not even be able to participate in the Olympic Games in Tokyo because of this. I mean, because it's a bad look for the U.S. I mean, U.S. doesn't want people like this. I mean, supposedly has been a party animal his whole life, and you just can't be doing that. This should be the one time where you shouldn't be partying and making the U.S. look horrible, and also you know using your supposed white privilege to get away with stuff. It's not going to work in this country. Just like if you go to Canada or Mexico, it's not going to work like that. You're not going to get the same type of preferential treatment you're going to get in the U.S. U.S. is the only country where you're going to be able to get that stuff. So you have to treat yourself, you know, right. I mean, you can't be, acting crazy. You have to act like you are an American and treat everybody with the amount of respect that you would want to be treated. And so the next thing we're going to talk about is Josh Norman. This guy's been constantly talking crazy. He recently was talking trash to Demarius Thomas about how he only had one reception and 8 yards, but Demarius Thomas got the ring. Josh Norman got the money this past offseason. So, what do you think of Josh Norman talking trash to Demarius Thomas because of his numbers? And do you think that Josh Norman was wrong to talk mess to Demarius Thomas, even though he doesn't have a ring and he may never get a ring with being on the Washington Redskins?
I could, I likely probably guarantee that. Sorry to all you Redskins fans out there, but I don't see a world in any recent future that the Redskins will be competing for a championship. So, in terms of his comment, or should we say comments, because since he's become a Redskin, he's kind of in the news every other week for something. I believe it was last week or a few weeks ago. He had landed a new deal, I think, with a TV show or something like that, and his coach was the last to know. I mean, not like you owe your coach anything because, it is an off the field thing. Like, you have your job and then you have your personal life. But I do think that something like that is something that you should just go up to the coach and let him know that you're doing that, even if not like you need his permission, but at least let him know that you're doing that. And I believe the head coach found out in a press conference, and one of the media members asked him, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not too sure about that. I can't really comment on it, but I'll talk to him." And then each week, there's another comment about a receiver that he's making. This week being Demarius Thomas with the 8 yards. Regardless if he put up 8 yards or 80 yards, like you said, he did come away with a ring, and the Panthers were the hot team last year. They were the team that looked unstoppable at one point. I mean, at one point in the season, during the year last year, it was the Panthers in the NFL and the Warriors in the NBA, and they just looked like the exact same thing. Like they were just both out there dominating everybody. And it's kind of funny how we're talking about the Panthers, and I say the Warriors, and Steph Curry is from Carolina, so is from there. So it's kind of funny how that works out. But to stay on task, I don't understand why Norman is continuously talking. You did play well last year. You did get yourself into the conversation of one of, or if not the best corner in the game. But I mean, money was an issue in Carolina. That's why you're no longer there. And I think you're already in a tough division as it is. I mean, you got to deal with Dez Bryant. You're going to have to deal with Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
Who else do we have in that division? The Eagles, I know, have a few young guys, but sometimes I know his personality is that of a boisterous guy that likes to kind of get in your face. But at one point, I think the coach has to go up to him and be like, "You got to stay quiet. Like we're trying to do our own thing. You're bringing the wrong kind of attention here to this team. and we're just trying to focus. And I know he has been documented for being a really hard practice player. He likes to be out there. I think it was yesterday or the day before they ended practice early, and he was screaming. He was like, "Why are we ending practice? We got to keep working." So that's good to see. But because you want to see a guy want to lead by example and be out there practicing and want to get better. But all the other talk is a little unnecessary. For a guy that did step his level play up and has a more notoriety, but it's a little
But do
much
you, but do
for
you think
anybody.
that Josh Norman is a product of the system, and that he's not going to put the same type of numbers up this upcoming season? Because I feel like he's going to be terrible for the Redskins this upcoming season, because the Carolina Panthers had the correct system, the right system for him, and you saw earlier, before in training camp and stuff, where receivers were burning him left and right, and you don't even these aren't even top receivers, and and you're gonna have to deal with Odell and Dez twice a year, and maybe even three times if you meet them in the playoffs if they make the playoffs, and that's just in your division. So it's going to be interesting to see if he'll be able to produce. I don't think he will. I don't think he's on the same level as the top receivers in the league, but we'll see. But we're going to go to my next point, and this we're going to stay in the division, and we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Philadelphia Eagles have made a lot of boneheaded decisions the last couple of years, and the most recent is drafting Carson Wentz, trading up to get Carson Wentz, uh, and they traded away 5 picks for Carson Wentz, which is absolutely crazy at the time. I thought it was stupid because they pretty much traded up to, and they didn't even know if they were going to get Carson Wentz or not, because they just were like, okay, whoever's left available at the 2 pick, we're going to pick them up. And then having issues with the quarterback situation and Sam Bradford not being happy there. Sam Bradford, made some stupid decisions too, because he's not in the position to make deals or make demands, because he hasn't had one healthy season the last few years. I don't know when he's been fully healthy. So
No.
he needs to prove himself on the field too. So it's just a whole bunch of stuff that's happened in Philadelphia. And in Philadelphia hiring Chip Kelly, a couple years ago, that was stupid too. So I want your opinion on why in the world is Philadelphia thinking of redshirting Carson Wentz the whole year? You gave away you pretty much had a fire sale, and and this is supposed to be the future quarterback of your organization, and you're going to give up all these pieces to have him sit out a whole year. I understand that Aaron Rodgers sat out 3 years ahead of Brett Favre, but the Philadelphia Eagles do not have a Brett Favre on their roster. So
Very far from it.
yeah, so I want your take on this, because I'm absolutely flabbergasted. Me personally, I hope that they do that, because I'm a Giants fan and I want them to be as terrible as possible, so there's less competition for us, and we just have to deal with the Cowboys and their skins. And I think the Cowboys are really our only opposition this season. But I want your take on that.
Um, in terms of them redshirting him, let's see it from the business side and the Eagles side as an organization first. I understand. Think about it like this: you made the point yourself. They did spend about 5 draft picks on this guy. For their reasons, they have very high value in him. And I forget who is the team they traded up for to get him.
It was the Browns, I'm pretty sure.
Well, the Browns were the second pick, and they probably have their eyes on him. And their quarterback situation's a little here and there. I mean, they did pick up Robert Griffin, who's looked good so far in preseason, but obviously the Browns didn't have as much value in this guy as the Eagles supposedly do. So if the Eagles do have that kind of value in him, or believe he has that kind of value to their team, I would think they want to do everything they can to make sure this kid does not get seriously injured, because of how much you spent for him and how much you traded to get him. So in terms of them maybe possibly getting rid of him, like redshirting him in a sense for the season, would be probably to protect him and probably for them, more importantly, themselves. Because yes, we're all going to say at first this year, why are you redshirting him. You know, be out there. The second he can come back from injury, he comes back, and that week, you know, he gets hit by a defensive end, and then he's done for the season. So they got to look at their cards, and they got to say, this, you know, we spent so much on this guy. We need him to be there. And like you said, the Sam Bradford situation, Bradford obviously wasn't happy about the whole Wentz thing. Maybe this is Philadelphia's last-ditch attempt at trying to make Sam Bradford happy again. So if they say we're redshirting him, which if they do intend doing that and making it official, that could make Sam Bradford happier because he probably wouldn't feel like he's in a competition for his job, even though regardless how good you are, you should always be competing for your job to want to, like, so it makes you feel like as if you're improving your game. But he does seem like he needs the attention and to feel like he's wanted, because if someone hurts his feelings, it's a little much for him, and he's not wanted here or there. So it might be good for both sides. It would be Bradford, he would feel like, you know, I don't have this kid competing under me. Nobody's going to be talking about it. I don't got to worry about it. I can go out and have a carefree season. I mean, he shouldn't have that mindset, but, you know, Bradford isn't, you know, the best quarterback. And in terms of Philadelphia's side, I mean, they probably want to keep this kid healthy, like I said before. So maybe that's the reasoning for doing that.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to see how it goes. It may be a great move for them, but I don't think so, and I think that it could hinder his growth as a quarterback. And, I mean, he went to North Dakota State, and he hasn't really looked that impressive in the preseason that I've seen. But you know, sometimes preseason is not the end all be all, and you have to take it with a grain of salt because there's a lot of players that look terrible in the preseason, even in the first season, and then they came out to be incredible players. So we'll just have to just keep an eye on that. So
Yeah.
the next topic we're going to talk about is Team USA. Our men's basketball team won another gold medal, had a dominating performance against Serbia. They beat them by 30 points. So I want your take. Has Team USA had a dominant run in Rio in the Olympics?
Dominant. It looked start, especially in the preliminary rounds when they were dusting China by 40, 50 points. But what really surprised me about the gold medal game was they played a Serbian team that they beat by 30, but that they escaped with a victory about a week or so prior.
Yeah, about 3 points. Yeah, 91.
Points.
Yeah.
So I mean, with the amount of talent that I know the rest of the world has improved, and that's great, and I want that to continue to happen because it can make basketball more interesting. And it's great to see, because we can see more talent, we can see more international kids come over, which is great for the league because everybody has their own different type of game that they, bring to it. But I don't think they dominated. I know the scoreboard in some of the games said they did, but you can just tell there was a lot of isolation basketball. And I remember Coach K had come out, and I think I'm paraphrasing, don't hold me to it, but I know he had the lines of, trying to get these guys to play more of his team, and it's a little harder with this group. So we're going to rest our laurels on defense. And they played well defensively at times. But this was a really isolation type system they had going. It was whoever had the ball at the top of the key, everybody kind of spread out, whether it was Kyrie or Durant, whoever it may be. And give them credit. They have that ability to do that, especially against the players who they were playing with, and they dominated in certain games. But in terms of a collective, I didn't see a dominating performance. I know they had the second largest win since the Dream Team, and the Dream Team won by 32 in their gold medal game, and USA obviously this one by 30. But which that's numbers, but I don't think they dominated. In the whole scheme of things, they obviously. They should have never been within 20 points of anybody. I know there's a lot of talent. And I mean, earlier in the tournament, when it was first starting, we were talking about France. We were talking about Spain. And Spain played them tough in the semifinal game. But, I mean, France didn't even make it that far. They had got blown out, which was surprising. But I don't think they dominated.
Yeah, I actually disagree. I actually didn't think Spain would have any chance against us. I feel like their play, I mean, to be honest with you, wasn't up to par with USA's. And I thought USA dominated just for the fact that they're the only team that didn't have a single loss, and that alone is dominance to me. It don't matter if you win by 1 point or you win by 100. If you don't have a single loss throughout the whole tournament, then that was dominant in my opinion. But I think the one team that really shocked me in this whole tournament was Australia. I don't know if people saw my article on Real Sport, but I was talking about how Australia is going to be the dark horse team in 2020 in next year's games because they're going to add Ben Simmons to the mix along with this Australian group that they got. That's going to be absolutely crazy. If Ben Simmons continues to improve how he is and plays with this Aussie team that he's with, I don't see there's any reason why they shouldn't be competing for a medal next Olympic Games because it's going to be a big transition period for a lot of teams. Spain is going to get older. They're probably not going to be as good. I mean, you saw that without having in there the Gasol brother, they just weren't as good of a team. And I think they probably would have been in the gold medal game if they would have had Marc Gasol with his brother pal because they really were sorely missing another talented big out there. And another team that you got to watch out for is Canada. Canada is another team to watch out for. They almost qualified for this year's games, and they have probably the most talent, like NBA talent, of any team that's competing internationally, not named Spain, in my opinion, because you got, a lot of upstarts. You got Wiggins, you got Tristan Thompson, you got I'm probably forgetting someone else, but they got a bunch of NBA talent that I'm probably forgetting, but they got a real good group.
I could see Canada making that push, but like you said, and they do have a lot. And the thing is, they have a lot of young talent. That's why they probably weren't able to get past that mark. But I mean, they do have a lot of young talent, and they have a few guys that could be stars in this league in the NBA, like Andrew Wiggins. But I don't think they have the guy, that can actually help lead them to actually forcibly compete with a USA, because they have a lot of good NBA players, but I don't think you could pick any one. There might be one or two Canadians maybe that you could pick that might be better than one or two of the Olympic players that we had in this roster, but we don't even have all of our best players competing. I mean, you're still missing LeBron has said he is interested to play for Coach Pop in 2020. We'll see how that goes, if he's still tired, if he's continuing to play late into the season, or if he'll even have the legs for it, whatever it may be. Maybe injuries, knock on wood, hopefully not. But we'll see.
All right, so we're going to get to our last point, and this is our Q&A section. Like I said before, on last week's show, if you have any questions, we'll answer it at this time for our next week's show, or if we see it for this week, you have a question that you want answered, we'll answer, for this week's show. So last week, Trevor Zazima asked me a question about why is the Olympic gold that we receive, why is the bonus for it only 25 grand? Why should we not be having more money for each medal that the U.S. gets? And I want to answer this question, and I also want your opinion on this too. But my reason for why the U.S. only gets 25 grand while there's other countries that are getting a lot more money, which is Russia is getting more money than us, Korea and Japan all getting paid $50,000 a medal at least or more, is because there's a lot less athletes for those countries than it is for the U.S. The U.S. got to shell a lot more money. And I'm pretty sure what I read before is they're shelling out $53 million total for all the medals that they've had to give to all the athletes that participated in this year's games. And I mean, I may be wrong about that, but it's just financials pretty much. I mean, even though they haven't updated the amount of money they give per medal for the bonuses since 2002. So I just want your opinion. Do you think that the U.S. should increase it? I think they shouldn't, be honest with you, because they get so many different endorsement deals and stuff like that. And the United States Olympic Olympic Committee shouldn't be allowed, wasting their money on stuff like that, because U.S. got a lot more important matters that we should be dealing with. We're already in so much debt. And it's just like with athletes, in the NBA, NFL, and NHL, all the sports, they get so much money off their endorsement deals that it cancels out the lack of money they may get towards the medals.
No, yeah, I would definitely lean towards the endorsement side, like you're pointing to. I mean, there are a lot of great athletes from other countries that are better in particular sports than our participants, but for the majority of the part, they go there, they compete, then they come back, and they live
Live
pretty
their lives.
successful
Yeah.
lives, and they're very comfortable, in terms of the profit that they make, especially off the endorsements. I mean, Michael Phelps may not compete in a league that is going year round like an NFL or an NBA where they play competing against different teams consistently, but you do see him. Well, not recently, but a few years past, you would see him on the front of a Subway sign. You know, you do see these guys all over the place. You're getting all types of different endorsements. So, like you said, I don't think they need more money than they already deserve, than they already are getting in. And I mean, a lot of these guys get different perks than other people. I mean, I know it's only the basketball teams for the men and the women for the USA, but I mean, while everybody else was on the island in the towns, during the Olympics, I mean, the USA was on for the men's and women's basketball team was on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
So, and that's a lot of perks that a lot of these other countries and a lot of these other participants in the Olympics aren't getting. So, I think they easily make that money back in endorsement deals and the other perks that they get due to their fame and wherever they do participate, whether it be a league or whatever it may be. The amount of money they do make back is much more than these players have ever seen and
Yeah.
these athletes have ever seen.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you see the NCAA, they actually allowed Katie Ledecky to keep her bonus money because that was a first, and I was surprised about that because, but it's kind of like a contradiction, that the NCAA is allowing that, but they're not allowing college football athletes or college basketball athletes to get a little bit of the money that the NCAA gets from their revenue. And I think, and I want to think this at least, that this is going to be the a step in the right direction, and the NCAA is eventually going to go to that path where they may give them $25,000 or $50,000 or $100,000, for the athlete, so that they can benefit from the stuff that they do on and off the field.
No, I completely agree with that. In terms of the college athletes, and what money they could be making because of how much these organizations are making off of
They
them.
make billions
I
off of
mean, that's a topic we can do for another day. I mean, I did a presentation in one of my classes a few months back on why college athletes should get paid. So that's a whole debate in itself. But definitely, these athletes are, in terms of the professionals, they're getting more money than these people overseas.
Yeah, most definitely. And I want to thank all the listeners that tune in every week, all the people that watch every week. We greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, you can email me at djcam25@gmail.com, and we'll answer on the next week's show. And also, if you guys, anybody does music, whether it's hip hop, R&B, just pop music, we're looking for some music for our show. We'll play it on the show. You may get a little coverage. You may even be the theme song for our show too. So if you know anybody, refer them to me. Email me. Send me their music. I'm a big music head. I always listen to music. I got to listen to the new Frank Ocean albums. People said it's good, so I'm gonna listen to it endless and blind. So I appreciate you guys. Again, my Twitter is at Cam Perry 21. You can find me at Facebook at Cam Perry Sports. You can also find me at Instagram at CP Scott 1. And again, Brandon, where can they find you at before we get off here?
So on Facebook, like I said earlier, you can find me at Brandon Zezima. On Twitter, you can find me at BZEZ2. And on Instagram, you can find me at BZEZ and then like a decimal point and then 2.
All right. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Next week, we were going to have it this week, but next week we're definitely going to have our college football show. Brandon's not going to be able to be with us, but I'm going to bring a few of my guests that are definitely going to be talking. We're going to have some good debates. We're going to have a little banter. We're all going to probably disagree with each other, but it's going to be a good show. So peace and see you next week.
See you guys.